Well, I know that it's been quite some time, but it's good to be back, and if you're watching this, I am truly grateful, as I always am. Today we have some email questions that have been submitted. We have a driver that hopefully will think twice before doing the dumb shit we caught on camera. And we will finish it off with our first ever parking lot cumbia. Now, did you see this guy? Can anyone help me make sense of what's happening here? I tried. I'm not sure if this is what went down, but this is what I think. So this guy's driving along and having a good day. In fact, he's having too good of a day. Things are going so smoothly for him that he decides to mix things up a little bit. Now, when things are going your way, the ease of it all makes for a boring life experience. There are no challenges, there's no fulfillment, no growth. People want to feel like they've accomplished something. They want a good overcomer story. They want to sit with others in their old age and share the glorious triumphs of their heyday. And this guy has chosen this moment to be one of his moments of glorious triumph. You see, up ahead, this guy needs to get into this lane here. He just needs to move one lane over and he will easily continue in the direction he needs to go. He knows all of this because of all the signs that are posted to provide this information to us as we drive. Now, he could have stayed in this lane a little bit longer than he needed if he wanted a small challenge, but he was going big. He wanted to be 2 lanes out and then try to get in. That is a story of conquest. In the end, he didn't quite conquer this scenario. He got into the lane, but he needed to stop and wait in the idiot staging area here provided to all idiots by DPS. But just so that he could end on a positive note, he went ahead and cut this driver off to get into this lane, just to display that his time is more important than someone who was not ambitious enough to challenge themselves rather than just stay in the lane in which they needed to be. Now it's time to start taking some email questions. Now, anyone who's not from SATX who would like to learn about the experience of driving in SATX, feel free to email drivinginsatx@gmail.com. The first question comes from user hand blinkers are only for winners 89, and the question is, do drivers in SA know about the mirrors that are mounted on their cars? Well, that's a good question. I think maybe you've seen some of the videos or even heard stories about what happens here, but let's look at a couple of examples. First, we have this driver who we know nothing about other than they use their cold, dead-looking hands to steer this GMC. This driver puts on a blinker and does not look back nor check a mirror to see our driver coexisting in the next lane. Furthermore, this driver seems to think that the horn is some kind of encouraging rally cry to keep it up, rather than a, "Hey, what the fuck do you think you're doing here?" This horn was the latter. In the next example, we have this Jeep driver who we can only assume lost all their fingers in their left hand at some point because they were not capable of using a blinker. It appears if the driver knew what the mirror was for, they would have used it to see that there was a vehicle here and not really enough space to safely move over. So we're marking up 2 for they don't know about the mirrors, and let's see one more. In this example here, this truck is coming up on his curb. And he brakes. Now, of course he brakes. It's a curve, yellow blinking lights. There's even a car in front of him. Well, our driver here doesn't feel the need to slow down quite so much yet, so a decision is made to go around the truck. Then the truck moves over with no blinker, of course, because why would he? As you know, blinkers are only for winners. And he proves that he sometimes does look at these reflective objects that are attached to his truck and wonders just what the heck they're for. So, to answer your question, blinkers are only for winners 89, it looks like there are some drivers in SATX who really don't know about the mirrors mounted on their cars. I can see why you would ask that question. The next question is from a lady who goes by the handle F a Left Lane Camper 2022. The question is, do drivers in SATX even know what the hell is going on? I gotta say, Miss F a Left Lane Camper, that's a fair question. In many cases while out on the road, many of drivers are making a case for, no, they don't even know what the hell's going on. For instance, we have this driver here, driving in the far right lane. Now, we get to a point at which the lanes are all identified with the expectations of each lane, and they really dumb it down with the big giant pre-K arrows and the word only, as in no exceptions. These aren't for decoration. It's required by law to observe these. This costs tax dollars and serves a purpose. What's that purpose? So that drivers aren't aimlessly drifting back and forth trying to figure out where they need to go like idiots. When you don't observe them, you end up driving like an idiot, and we all have to watch out for drivers like you. Then there's this driver. Now, I don't understand. GPS navigation is really accessible these days, But there are still drivers out here acting like it's still 1989 and there's still a lot of guesswork in getting to a new destination. The driver is in the entrance lane, but at some point questions whether or not this is where they want to be, so they created this undecided move here and occupied some of 2 lanes while they got confirmation on what lane they need to be in. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, in the final example of drivers who don't even know what the hell is going on, I must mention that driving is getting so bad, it is more and more often that I find 2 drivers driving a fool in the same clip at the same time. Come on, people. We need to get better. Look at these 2. First, watch this one. In the far left, not realizing at all these huge green signs telling us what lanes are going where. Realizes, with little time left, they need to be a few lanes over this way and start to make their inconveniencing, not so smooth transition to the right. Of course, cutting someone off and making them brake for one who failed to get into position properly. I was empathetic toward this driver until I learned the driver was in another world too, and just now snapped out of it. Those were our email questions. Remember, if you're from out of the area and would like to take a stab at understanding the driving situation here, please email us at drivinginsatx@gmail.com. Now, I'd like to talk about drivers who are so careless that they come within seconds of disaster. I see this quite a bit, but I wonder if it makes the person think about it from now on and changes their ways. Let's look at this car here. Now, before this clip even starts, the young lady in this car was driving a little faster than she needed to and changing lanes a little too carelessly. Obviously, like someone who hasn't learned to respect the possible danger that is involved in driving, period. Much less driving like a reckless little shithead. So we're headed down this stretch with a stop sign at the intersection that tees off at the end. Now, it seems this driver has become quite comfortable with quickly rolling through stop signs. Many people do it, but some people understand that the whole idea is to make sure that it's clear before going. This lady just learned that lesson at the cost of pissing her pants because she almost drove herself into the path of this vehicle. I'm sure she gave it some good thought at the time, because then she decided to sit here and wait until it was all good and clear. But I hope this changes how she drives around all the time. Finally, I'd like to start a habit of leaving you guys on a light note. So for this week, I took a very frustrating situation of watching someone wiggle out of a parking space like Austin Powers and turned it into something fun. So I present to you our first ever Parking Lot Cumbia. Stay safe out there.